But then
See, if you cover current events, this is something you jump onto the pizza box, but you don't take the time to go and look at all the evidence that was debunked.
that's not true though, because
like, why do you spend
of all Rust drama, with a lot of big egos clashing in this Thunderdome, there was bound to be a catastrophic explosion of drama. So what really set it off is a couple of Rust veterans camping in bushes.
Here we go.
Kidding me? Res me, bitch. Res me.
Hey.
And killing people on site, just mindlessly murdering people in the streets without any attempt to communicate or make fun content out of it. They would just sit in the bush and kill people, hoping to make them mad, which would then be used.
There's been news articles, Reddit threads on LSF, YouTube videos, all saying I went on a rampage and murdered everyone and bush camped for 30 minutes. And it's all simply not true. The footage following this segment will show every single interaction I had on the server, so I can show I'm not doing any selective editing. The video will show you that I was actually friendly with a lot of people, discouraging myself from playing like a normal server, and that I was role-playing. I'm a big role player at heart. I've been called a role player for years on Rust, to a point where it's even used as an insult. Some of my most recent content was starting up a ranch, creating a town, making a Viking village, participating in another group's village, and staying at a hotel.
Just sitting in a bush for fucking 30 minutes. Waiting for someone to ride by on a horse and just shooting them on sight. And then looting them. That's normal to them. But to a new player that had no chance of fighting back and there's two sides to this argument, but there's a wrong side and a right side. The wrong side is the one that says they did nothing wrong. Like, when you go into the server, it literally just says, please just don't mindlessly kill people.
After reviewing that small amount of footage from the other streamer's perspective, I'd say it's a pretty cut and dry case. Unless there was another perspective. Alright, court is in session. Let's review the evidence. But before we do so, let's get a few things straight so you know what I knew going into this server. There was going to be two servers, a roleplay one and a PvP one. The roleplay one was called The Divide and the PvP one was called The Badlands. This screenshot here clearly shows the rules for the server called The Hunt? I don't know the context of that one, but it's clearly meant for the PvP server, which is what I was on. And because I was kicked from the Discord, I couldn't confirm if it was in a special channel, but luckily someone checked for me. So these rules here are the ones blowing up, and it says not to kill naked selfishly or slaughter groups of roleplayers for loot, which is all well and good, except for one thing. This was apparently put in general chat and not the rules section, and I didn't get into the Discord until sometime after the 7th when this was posted. So I was going off of this tweet here, and the official rules in the rules section of the Discord. These rules here were sent up to oblivion in the general chat feed. Now, there was this unofficial rule that most tried to abide by on the server. Don't kill people on the south side of the middle of the map. And I didn't. I went down there and did some fun roleplay, contributed to an art gallery, and chatted with people. I might have accidentally killed someone on the edge of the border at one point, but they were a part of Myth's crew who had just killed me there not long ago. So north of the border was the designated PvP area, especially hardcore monuments like military tunnels and launch site. Now, about that roleplay server. Abe kept it so only 25% of the people previously whitelisted on the old server could be on it on the first day. So, where did all of those roleplayers go who didn't make it into the Divide? They entered the dreaded Badlands. Hence, why I think there was that unofficial rule of making the South the safe place for those who didn't make it into the RP server. I'd also like to put forth that I don't dribble on toes for clout. I've only ever collabed with people I genuinely like, and for the most part, my friends online aren't even content creators. On this server, it feels like a different story, like a cannibalization of each other for views, with a small dote on the whims of the big. I went in not knowing who most of these people were, and nearly all of them certainly hadn't heard of me. But boy did I learn. I played career roulette every time I PvP'd in the PvP area, naively pulling that trigger again and again, until finally, I killed the wrong streamer. If I was a clout-chasing Andy, as I've been dubbed, would I have really gone and killed some of these people? And the other side of the coin on this is that others are saying I could have become huge by befriending everyone, but that isn't me. I don't care about follower counts. To me, if you're rude, you're rude. And the ban, yes, I was banned and so was Zuckles. I'm not going to speak for him, but after my final day on there, after the sheer amount of toxicity I received, the death threats, my fiance getting dragged through the mud, the chat raids after I killed a beloved streamer, I was done. I announced on Twitter later that night that I wouldn't be going back, so I gave my base away and then was later on banned anyway. So this isn't about a ban. I actually respect the reason I was banned, even though it was without warning, and that was because I made some other streamers uncomfortable and negatively impacted their experience. In no way would I want anyone to go and attack Abe for having to issue this ban. I apologized to him. He said he wasn't offended by anything I did and that we were cool, and then I thanked him for bringing attention to the best game in the world, and we moved on. And just briefly on this, I'll be fair because I'm not here to try and make any of these streamers look bad, I'm just giving my point of view. But a mutual friend of mine and Train told me he deleted the tweet because he too had met his partner in game, so I don't know if it was a joke or what. But I didn't take it that way, and there are other people who didn't either. So now that we've established that I went in knowing that this was a competitive PvP server, was unaware of the changes that were put into general chat on the Discord, and didn't know who anyone was, I think we can finally move forward to see what feels like the most hidden point of view on the offline TV server.
But then over the last couple days, it's more like, oh, don't ride down that road because a Rust Pro might be waiting in a ghillie suit in one of the bushes to just shoot you on sight. In Rust, it's fun to PvP, and it's more fun when you're PvPing with a purpose as opposed to just going for like a KD ratio in a survival game. A lot of the people in the Rust community that are vehemently defending this have like no level of self-awareness or social skills. I mean, even the fucking creator of Rust made this sarcastic tweet poking fun at this mentality. Even on this tweet, there were so many Rust players that were like, finally, Gary's speaking up. Yeah, these pussies just don't get real Rust like we do. And even in the tweet, like, he couldn't have made it more on-the-nose sarcastic. They couldn't even recognize the most basic level of sarcasm there. There's other players that started taxi services, so while it is a huge focus on PvP in that server, it's still mainly RP. In response to so many people going to the PvP server and so much going on, Abe created a second server more focused on RP, but still mainly PvP. It's 70% PvP, 30% RP. On that server, that's where I have my waste management empire, where I run around collecting trash with a garbage truck. So there's really no way of defending it. Now, in response to all this drama that was blowing up that I was just talking about, 2 players, I believe, were banned from the server, which is where most of this drama just stemmed from, everyone debating whether or not they deserve the ban or shit like that. But I think it's pretty clear, like, they were playing it very differently from everybody else in that server.
Like, friendly with a lot of people, discouraging myself from playing like a normal server, and that I was role-playing. I'm a big role player at heart. I've been called a role player for years on Rust to a point where it's even used as an insult. Some of my most recent content was starting up a ranch, creating a town, making a Viking village, participating in another group's village, and staying at a hotel.
Because you don't correct your mistakes. You were wrong about Fresh and Fit. You were wrong about Andrew Tate. And you were wrong about the movie Cuties.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you tied it back to Cuties, but before we get back to that, how am I feel like I'm one of the very few people on the internet who corrects himself. Whenever I make a mistake, I do go and make a clarification. For example, I got something wrong with a content creator holding a stand-up competition that was absolute dog shit, and then someone came there and made fun of him, and I didn't know the full context. Once I got the full context, I went back and made a follow-up video to explain it in more depth with more clarity.
those YouTube videos because they are pretty good. You should really watch them and subscribe, like, and leave a comment.
And favorite, don't forget to favorite.